Now I'd like to introduce the presenter in our training topic. Andrew Porter, our presenter, is the Utah State University Apple representative. Apple products are renowned in the disability community for their out-of-the-box accessibility. The training will present iPad basics and quick user tips with the main focus on the integrated accessibility features of the iPad as well as some accessibility apps. Andrew Porter is a self-proclaimed aholic and has always had an interest in technology and computers. Andrew's life was changed about 5 years ago when he bought his first Apple MacBook laptop. Andrew worked at the USU campus store's AggieTech department as a sales associate and is currently the campus rep for Apple at Utah State University. And now, Accessibility with iPads by Andrew.
Thanks, Dory, for the introduction. Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar. This is an exciting opportunity that I've been given, and I'm grateful for it. This is a new experience for me. Generally, I have a physical audience with me, but since all of you are located in remote locations, I hope this runs smoothly and we have a successful webinar. Let's get started. We're going to be looking at a couple of just iPad basics before we get in to the bulk of the accessibility. If you just can follow along with me if you have an iPad, we'll be looking in the Settings app, which again, it looks like kind of a gear inside of the app. Now, some of you might wonder why mine looks different. Just recently, Apple did update to iOS 7. Don't be alarmed by that if you're running iOS 6 or a past version. Although you might be aware that some of the features that I will show may only be accessible within the iOS 7 version, and that is only available on iPad 2 and above. So if you're using a first generation iPad, some of these features will not work for you. And please, if at any time you do have questions, feel free again to message them to Story and she'll relay them to me so we can get some good communication here. So inside the settings, it's important to notice that on the left-hand side you have your settings menu, and then when you tap one of the options on the right-hand side, it will show you what you're looking at or what options you have to toggle within that settings. A couple things that you might see me doing within this time, a couple multi-touch gestures, which will include a 4-finger or a 5-finger pinch in, which lets you close the app back to the home screen like you just saw. I'll do that again. So when you're inside any app, this will work inside any app, you can simply pinch on the screen like you can see my hand, and it will close that app back to the home screen. Now let's say that you're working with 2 apps or more, and you want to go back and forth between the two. In this case, you're simply going to use 4 fingers, and you're going to swipe left or right to go back and forth between whichever apps you'd like to. And you can go beyond just 1 or 2. You can go between any app that is currently open. And you might wonder which apps are open. To simply see which apps you have running or open at the current time, you can double press the home button. And again, don't be alarmed if mine looks different from yours. For those of you that are running a previous version of iOS, across the bottom of the screen you'll see a little shelf that will display each of the app icons. In my case, for those that are running iOS 7, it will show you an actual image or a picture of the app and what's running in the app. So you can see that I have my home screen, then the last app that I had open and the app that I had open just before that. So they're all within a sequential order of last opened. And again, to go between them is a simple 4-finger swipe, left or right. So those are some of the things that I'll be doing during today's cast. One other thing that I wanted to point out with these couple basics that were new features within iOS 7 is called Control Center. And to access Control Center, you simply drag your finger from the bottom of the screen, and you'll see that your Control Center will pop up, and it gives you access to music if you're possibly playing music, or you can toggle your airplane mode, your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, sleep modes, or you can lock the rotation of the iPad. And you can also change that to mute it as well. So now let's look into some of the accessibility features that are available within iOS. If you want to go ahead and follow me along, I'm in the Settings app. And now if you tap General along the left-hand side, like you see mine is highlighted, here within General, we've got a lot of options. One we're looking for is the one that says Accessibility. If you tap Accessibility, it's going to show you a list of all the accessibility options, and it's labeled, each category of accessibility option is labeled. So you can see our first one is vision for those with vision impairments, and hearing for those with hearing impairments, and learning and physical and motor impairments as well. So we're going to go through these kind of step by step and look into them and see what they do and how to turn them on and turn them off. I do want you to understand that we don't have all the time in the world, so we can't really get into this, but this will help you get an understanding of what's available so that you can kind of play around with this on your own and find out the solutions that will be best for you and your needs. We're going to go ahead and start with the vision. So for those that have vision impairments, Voiceover is a very powerful tool that you can use. Obviously, you can understand how difficult it would be to use an iPad when you are unable to see the screen. Thankfully, with Voiceover, the iPad will speak to you what is on the screen. I'll demonstrate this, and as I do, please don't get annoyed with it reading back all the options, but that's the way Voiceover works. So at the top, you'll see that toggle switch. You just tap the toggle switch to activate it. And it's a good idea to read those directions just below it. So those directions say Voiceover speaks items on the screen. Tap once to select an item, which will then speak the item. And then if you actually want to do an actual tap to that item, you would just do a double tap to activate the selective item. And then if you want to scroll, maybe you're viewing a web page or something that you need to scroll the page, you would simply do a 3-finger scroll. And we'll walk through all of these now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the Voiceover.
Voiceover on. Settings.
Turn this down a little bit. So now with Voiceover, I'm going to go to the home screen.
Home. Communication folder. One app.
And it's going to start reading
Double
to me
tap to open.
what's selected. So right now it has the communication folder selected. So now if I tap Safari at the bottom, the web browser,
Dock. Safari.
it tells me where I'm located
tap to
on the
open.
screen. And now if I want to open Safari, I'll just double tap. And now
Safari.
I'm open in
Back
Safari.
button.
And again, it gives it selects an item first, in this case the back button. But to select something on the screen, to see what it is, again, I just tap what it is that I want.
Navigation. Vision. Button. Landmark.
And it will read to me what's on the screen. To scroll, I'm going to use 3 fingers to scroll with this page. So I take
Page 1 of 9.
3
Page 2
fingers,
of 9.
and it tells me how many pages there are on this particular web page. and I can just
Page
scroll
3 of 9.
using these 3 fingers, like you see.
Page 2 of 9.
If I want to see what's on this page or hear what's on this page, I'll tap a location.
Main. All you have to do is ask. Say something like, tell Jay I'm running late, or remind me to make reservations for Saturday. Siri can send messages. All you have to do is ask. All you have to do is ask. Say something like,
And as you can
Safari.
see, it will
Double
begin to
tap to
read
open.
the screen to you. So this is VoiceOver.
Dock. Settings.
I'm going to go ahead and
Settings.
switch it off for now.
VoiceOver. On.
You'll see that you can change the speaking rate. If it's speaking too fast for you, you can slow it down. I'll switch it on so we can see how that works.
VoiceOver on. Speaking rate. 10 per. Speaking rate. 4. Speaking rate. Speaking rate. 17. Speaking rate. 17. Speaking rate. 20%. Adjustable. Speaking rate. VoiceOver speaks. VoiceOver. VoiceOver.
So you can change the speaking rate up and down to better suit your needs. Also, I wanted you to notice
VoiceOver on.
the VoiceOver Practice. This is a good place for you to practice so you know what the gestures will do. So let's go ahead and look into
VoiceOver
that.
Practice. Button. VoiceOver Practice. Heading.
So now the iPad is going to tell me what the gesture will do according to what I do. So if I just tap once,
Practice VoiceOver gestures, commands, and typing in this area. Select the touch. Select item under your finger.
so you can see that I touched and it said with one touch, it will select the item under your finger. Now if I double tap,
Double tap. Activates the selected item. 2-finger single tap. Pause or continue speech. 2-finger double tap. Start and stop the current action. For example, starts and stops playback of music and video.
and this goes all the way up to a 4-finger tap.
4-finger single tap near bottom of screen. Move to the last element.
So you can see that it will accept a lot of inputs between 1 and 4 fingers. So if you're going to use this feature, I would highly recommend looking at this practice so that you know how to navigate now with this, this new VoiceOver
Done. Button.
feature activated.
VoiceOver. On.
And as you can see, there's a whole list of things that still we didn't look into that are included with VoiceOver, such as pitch change, sound effects. You can even use it with Braille-capable devices that will connect via Bluetooth. And I believe there are lots of those that are available. They're very simple to set up, just as simple of pairing the iPad with the Bluetooth Braille device. If anybody has any questions about this, we do have a question. So let's go to story with that.
Hillary has a question. Where is the practice option for VoiceOver for older iOS systems?
I believe that's a new feature within iOS 7. I have never noticed it with previous versions. I do believe you could access a list of those gestures online with that previous iOS versions. So if you'd like and you don't want to update to iOS 7, you could go online to search VoiceOver gestures, and I'm sure you'll find a list of them there. Otherwise, you could update to iOS 7 and gain access to the list or use that practice feature. I hope that answered your question. If not, please follow up with story. So again, if anybody has more questions about the VoiceOver function more, please ask it now. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and move on now. Now we're going to look at the zoom feature. I'm going to switch the zoom on. Now I want all of you to recognize when I switch this on, you'll notice on your screen that it will actually zoom. It's important to know that this is not just done within house. They're not cropping the picture at all. So now we have a zoomed look at the iPad. And if we want, again, there's great instructions right below the zoom feature that tell us what we can do or how to maneuver once we're within zoom. So double tap 3 fingers to zoom, drag 3 fingers to move around the screen, and then double tap 3 fingers and drag to change zoom. So let's test this out. So to zoom, we're going to drag around with our 3 fingers. You'll notice with 2 fingers, it's not going to work the way it should. It's scrolling up and down with the 2. So 3 fingers, we need to drag around the screen to see what's available. Then if we want to select something, it's done with the same technique with just tapping the icon or whatever it is you want to select. So you can see the functionality is mostly the same except for the 3 fingers scroll. If we want to zoom in more or zoom in less, we can double tap with the 3 fingers, as you can see there, and it will zoom out or zoom back in. Going back to, now I didn't show this, but if you want to zoom in even further, if you double tap and then so again, if I double tap and then keep my fingers on the iPad and pull out or pull away or in, it's going to scroll in or zoom in a lot more. So we can get zoomed in quite far. And then again, just scrolling with the 3 fingers. And if I want to zoom out, I can either do the double tap with the 3 fingers. It will zoom me all the way out. Or if I double tap again, it will zoom me all the way back in. And again, to change that zoom, I double tap and leave my fingers on the screen and then pull out like so. If you have questions about that, please let me know. I recommend trying it out yourself if you can. So that is the zoom feature. If you want to invert the colors, simply just tapping this toggle switch and you'll get an inverted picture. Although I just noticed that you're not seeing the inverted look on the screen. So I'll hold it up and you can see that my screen does in fact have inverted colors. And that's again just simply by toggling that switch. Whoops. Now speak selection I have switched on. I believe it is switched off normally, so if you want to activate this again, you'll have to activate it right here within the accessibility menu and turn speak selection on, and I'll show you what this means. You can change the voices between a whole lot of different languages. You can even change it to English Australian or English UK, English Ireland, or English South African if you're any of the following. Let's try out English South African. I actually lived in South Africa for 2 years, and I'd recommend visiting if you can. So speak selection, what this lets you do is it lets you select text and then have the iPad read it back to you. So I'm going to go to a note and have it read some of this back to me. Now, in order for you to get it to actually speak to you, you need to highlight the text that you want it to speak. So if you do this, you'll tap and hold until you see that magnifying glass appear. You see the magnifying glass appear. Once that's shown up, you can let go, and then it will give you this option to select all, or paste. So then if you want to select only a portion of this, you can just do select, and then you can drag this little icon across to select as much of the text that you want to have it read, and then you tap speak.
A startup is a company designed to grow fast. Being newly founded does not in itself make a company a startup, nor is it necessary for a startup to work on technology.
Let's switch back to American English. I'm not sure it quite sounds like a real South African, so, but you can be the judge. We'll go back to United States English and try that one more time. So again, to have it speak back to you, you need to have some text selected. To select text, you tap for about a second, and you'll get these options, and then you just drag to select as much as you like, and then from there, you can tap speak.
Decide and hope to succeed. You have to know that growth is what you're after.
And it will speak the text back to you. Now again, you can slow this speaking rate down.
Speak selection reads selected content. Speak selection reads selected content.
Or if you're a whiz, you can go as fast as it will go.
Speak selection reads selected content.
Good luck understanding that.
Speak selection reads selected content.
So that's speak selection. Let's just kind of glance over these other features. We do need to move on. Time is going faster than I anticipated. So you can increase text size. You can make the text larger, bold text, increase contrast. Again, I do recommend you browsing through these, testing them out to see exactly what they do and how they work. Just remember what you did to switch it on, because you might wonder how to switch it off if you don't remember which one it was that you switched on. So let's go down to hearing. With hearing, you do have subtitles and captioning available with video that offers subtitles and caption. So it's not offered with all video. The video itself has to offer it embedded in that video. But if you want to have that automatically switched on, you can turn that or toggle that switch to on. And then you can change the styles of the captioning, how they look, what is best for you. The default looks like that. You can see in that image there. And then with mono audio, you can switch to mono, and then toggle the left and rights better to work with you. So I wanted to look at Assistive Touch for some that have limited motor skills abilities, and this is a great feature that the iPad has built in. So what you can do is you can create for yourself gestures that might be easier for you to do. So I'll demonstrate how you do that. So let's create a gesture. In this case, I'm just going to do a circle. No, I don't want to do a circle. I want to do a scroll function. So I'm going to scroll or drag my finger across the screen and then tap save, and then I'll name this scroll 1, save it, and then I need to turn this on, Assistive Touch. Let's go back to Safari, where we have a web page. And if this page was difficult for me to scroll, if you notice in the top left-hand corner, and I can even change the location of this icon that you see me dragging, I can put it anywhere I want. It will just kind of hug the side of the screen. So wherever you'd like to put that, you can. So when you tap that, it gives you a few options. Some of which are Siri, and we're going to talk about Siri in just a little bit. The home button or the device. So my gesture that I just created, that scroll gesture, is in my favorites. So if I tap this scroll 1, you can notice that it put a little icon on the screen, which is that scroll motion or gesture. So if I want to scroll or have that gesture done, I simply will just tap that little dot, and that gesture will then go along just the way I had done it. And I'll show you a different one. Even though, oops, I need to turn this off. Now it closed those apps for me. No problem. So if I go back in to settings, general, accessibility, and I want to add another gesture. Oh, looks like we have a question.
Now the question is, can voiceover and speak selection be on at the same time, or would you only need one at a time?
Voiceover and speak selection. I believe that if you wanted to have all the text read back to you, then you would just do voiceover, which would read everything that you have selected without having to select certain parts of the text. I hope that makes sense. So again, voiceover will read back to me anything I touch on the screen without having to select that text, and then the speak selection will only read back to me what I select and then tell it to speak it back to me. If that doesn't answer your question, please follow up with another question. Otherwise, I'll continue. So going back to the assistive touch, if I want to add a new gesture, like I did the scroll gesture, maybe in this case I want to do a pinch to zoom. In that case, you would use 2 fingers, maybe 2 hands to do this pinch to zoom. So in this case, I'll just do the gesture once where I'm doing a pinch away. And then I'm going to save that as a zoom out. And then I'll do a zoom in one. Name this zoom in. Let's go back to our web page. So now to demonstrate those, question again before we get into that.
Yeah, Bobette asked, if you are using VoiceOver and open an app like Kindle, will it read everything on the screen?
She asked if you were using Kindle to read a book and you had VoiceOver enabled, would it read the text to you like reading a book? I haven't done that, but it's a simple test, and we can try that out. I believe it will. So let's quickly just try that out. Turn our VoiceOver on.
VoiceOver on. Settings. Home.
Go into home screen.
Communication folder. 1 app. Books folder. 4 apps. Books. Heading.
We'll open up Kindle. I think I had my textbook open last time I had my Kindle open, so it'll probably look like a math textbook.
Alert. For this page read, you are currently on page 384. No. Double tap for menu. VoiceOver does not support this content.
So it looks like VoiceOver does not support this content. So I hope that answers your question.
Nothing. Text field. Communication folder. App switcher. Kindle. Running. App switcher.
Nope.
Home. Communicate dock. Setting.
It's always kind of a pain getting out of the VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on.
So again, we tried to use this VoiceOver when reading a Kindle book, and it did not work.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned that the speak selection worked for them.
The speak selection? Now we tried VoiceOver. We didn't try speak selection. So if we want to try speak selection, we'll select some text. And it doesn't look like it's giving me an option. Maybe it's just this type of book.
It is.
Let's try a different book.
Good.
And again, it doesn't show me the speak feature or option when I select that text the way it would in that notepad like we saw. But let's quickly try, well, so it looks like that doesn't work in iOS 7, the speak selection within the Kindle app, like we just saw. So if that's it for that question, let's go ahead and move on to the Assistive Touch. I wanted to demonstrate the zoom in and zoom out, the pinch to zoom. So again, if I tap the Assistive Touch icon here on the right-hand side of the screen, you see right here. I tap that and tap Favorites. And now I want to zoom in. And you'll see that it shows the two icons on the screen. So if I touch one, oh, that was zoom out. Let's do the zoom in. I think I switched those. Yep, I did. So the zoom out is the zoom in. And you'll see that it does that gesture for me as I had programmed it to within the Assistive Touch. So now let's turn that off. Go back to our settings. Turn off Assistive Touch. One last thing that I wanted to showcase here in the accessibility menu is guided access. Now let's say you're somebody similar to me where you have a short attention span and you need to focus on one thing, or you want somebody to focus, maybe a child, to focus on one thing and not have the ability to get to the home screen or access other apps. So I'm going to show you how this works. Again, it's called guided access. So I'm going to use this math app. Let's say you wanted a child to practice their math and you didn't want them to leave the math application and go into a game. So we're going to turn on guided access, and the way that you turn that on, again in the settings, you switch on guided access, and I have a shortcut enabled, and the shortcut is pressing the home button 3 times. So if we go back to the math app that we were in and press the home button 3 times, you'll see that it's going to activate guided access. And it picked it up from where I was last. So now I want to show you how this works. And you have to lock it with a passcode. Otherwise, they could simply just get out of the guided access. So with your passcode inputted, you can now draw on the parts of the screen that you don't want the person to be able to have access to. In this case, I don't want them to be able to access the quit button on this screen. So all I need to do is circle that part of the screen, and it's going to disable the touch in that portion of the screen. It will also disable the home button, so I can't press the home button to go back to the home screen to go into a new app. So once I've selected the parts of the screen that I don't want the person to be able to have access to, I press resume, and now the user cannot quit. As you'll notice, I'm trying to press the quit button and nothing is happening. Also, I'm trying to press the home button, and you see across the screen it does say guided access enabled, so I cannot exit this app to the home screen. The only way to exit this app is to do the triple press of the home button, put in your PIN code again, and now at this time you can tap End to end this guided access session.
Will you tell her to mute?
Yeah. We have somebody on our conference call. If you could mute your phone for us.
Yes, how do I do that?
Star 6.
Star 6.
Thank you.
Thank you. So again, we just demonstrated the guided access. Now I quickly want to just showcase Siri and dictation, and then we'll quickly just point out a couple apps that are great for... seems like we still have a live phone on our conference call. If
I'm
you
working
could...
on it.
Okay. So if we want to use Siri, we simply just need to press and hold the home button until Siri is activated, at which point you can ask a question. It can range from opening apps to searching the web for something, finding out the weather, finding out sports scores, what movies are playing. Anyways, there's a whole list of things that you can ask Siri. So I just want to show you how you can use her to maybe open a specific app. So I press and hold the home button. Open Notes. And you can see that she opened the Note app for me. Now, once I'm in this Note app, let's say I want to dictate some writing. So in order to do that, you'll see on the bottom of the keyboard, there's an icon that looks like a little microphone. So if you tap the microphone, it activates the dictation. So I'm going to go ahead and activate that. And I'm just going to read part of this little text I have above, because I'm never good at just talking nonsense. So it works like this. A startup is a company designed to grow fast, period. Being newly founded does not in itself make a company startup, period. So I talked 2 full sentences there, and I added in the punctuation as I talked. And you can see that the input that dictation gave was, a startup is a company designed to go fast. So it got a few words wrong for the most part, but overall it did a good job. Could just be my difficult dictation. Looks like we have a question.
Yeah, Rochelle asked, how do I find Siri?
How do you find Siri? Again, to activate Siri, you press and hold the home button, and that will make Siri appear on the screen with "What can I help you with?" And that means Siri's active. I hope that answers your question. Otherwise, there's not a specific app that you would go to that is for Siri. It's just activated by that home button. Or in the Assistive Touch, if you did notice, there's a way to activate Siri within that Assistive Touch. So let's say I want to find out the weather. What is the weather looking like for the rest of the week?
Okay, here's the weather between today and Sunday.
Looks like it's going to rain tomorrow. I'm not excited about that. I'm a little disappointed that winter's on its way in, but anyways, that's a demonstration of how Siri works in a simple way. Dictation is accessible in virtually any place that a keyboard appears. So if I'm in Safari and I want to search Google and I want to do dictate what I want to search. Again, you'll notice on the keyboard that microphone icon. And again, I'm not very good at coming up with something to search just off the top of my head. So let's just see, who does Utah State football play next? Who does Utah State football play next? So you see it filled in that Google search field with who does Utah State football play next? And then to search it, obviously, I would just tap go, and it would search, and it looks like we play Boise State this weekend. Hopefully we can beat the Broncos. Anyways, that's a couple demonstrations of Siri and dictation. A couple apps I just wanted to point out that are really awesome for the iPad. Before we get into that, we have a quick question.
Yeah, Bruce was interested in the basics of switch control, looking for the switch input like through a headphone jack or Bluetooth interface.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that. I did want to point that out. Going back to accessibility, if you go down towards the bottom, there's switch control. Switch control is in a bit of a beta right now. At least the head nod features. I haven't really used this much. I just found out about it like this week, so I've just been playing around with it. What was he specifically asking about it again?
The basics of it, and in OS 7, how you can use it with the headphone jack or Bluetooth interface.
Okay. So you can activate certain switches, and to activate them, you just tap switches, and then you can say add a new switch, and at this time you can say I want it to be an external switch, which could be a Bluetooth device, or it could be something that you plug into the headphone jack. If you have neither of those, you can use head nod switches, and like I said, this is a beta feature. I will try and demonstrate it to you now. So I'm going to say the left head movement. I need to activate it first. No. So left head movement I have set to be tap. So if you notice here, I can choose the left head movement or left head nod to be any of these options here. In this case, I just want it to be tap. And then the right head movement, I will say the home button, so it will take me back to the home screen. So now if I turn, now I just want to point out that you can have Voiceover activated for the head nod. Towards the bottom where it says audio, you can have speech enabled, so that way you can hear what the option is on the iPad. Otherwise, it will just be highlighted with a blue square. I'm going to turn the speech off just so I can talk while I do it. So when I switch on switch control, if you'll notice that I'm going to do a left head nod or a right head nod. So I want to go to the home screen, so I'm going to do a right head nod. And it does depend on the distance that you have the iPad to your face. Like if I have it too close, you'll notice that at the top it says switch control, your face is too close. So I got to take it back a little bit. So again, I'm going to try the right head nod. And it worked. It took me back to the home screen. So now let's get back into the settings. So I want you to notice that the blue, that blue square that's rotating through options on the screen. If I want it to stop at something, I wait till it gets where I want it to be, on the row that I want it to be. And then I do a left head nod, and then it's on that row. Now you can see it's rotating between the apps on that row. So I want to go back into my settings. And we're in accessibility, or I want to go back into accessibility. Nope. And let's see if we can switch this off. It might take a minute. You can speed up how fast it rotates between options. So, whoops. I'm going to switch it off for now. But you can toggle, how fast it scans across the screen, go slower or faster. Again, you can have it speak to you the selections that it's currently on. So, again, I wish I could talk more about that. We are short on time. Also, it is a new feature that I've just realized about, so I haven't fully gotten a chance to use it and work with it proficiently. But just to know it is there, so you feel free to test it out on your own and see what kind of results you get with it. So the two apps I wanted to, well, I'm just going to kind of name some of these apps. We won't really have time to get into them if I can find them. One other little tip, at least for those that are using iOS 7, if you are looking for an app, or not even just an app, but want to search for something on your iPad, it could be an email, a message, a note. If you pull down, or you just pull down with your finger on the screen, you notice that a search iPad feature comes up. So I want to search for there it is, Proloquo to go. Did I say that right? So I'm sure some of you are familiar with this app. It's very powerful, and it can do wonders for people that struggle to communicate. I know I've heard of people that suffer from not Asperger's, autism, that's it. Some that suffer from autism and have a hard time communicating, this has been a really great app to help them communicate what they want or need. It's not a cheap app, but for those, I think, that need it, would be well worth it. We have a question?
Yeah, Hillary asked, just real quick, is that search option only for iOS 7?
It is in previous versions of iOS, but the way you get to it is different. Instead of pulling down like we did there, you would need to go to the first page of your apps. So you can see some dots just above that, your bottom row of apps, and it will show you which page you're on. So you need to be on your first page. When you're on the first page of your home screen, you can swipe to the right. And when you swipe to the right, it will show you that search feature. So that's how you would access the search iPad with the version of iOS before 7. So there was Proloquo to go that I showed you. Then there's one called Sign for Me. If you want to communicate with somebody that signs and you don't know how to sign, you can write a sentence. And then, oh, I didn't do you. So you can write a sentence and then it will sign that sentence for you. And in this case, it gives you the option to specify if you meant you singular or all of you or both of you. So in this case, I want to know all of you. And it will sign for me the things that I want to communicate. I have a friend that married somebody that is deaf, and they use FaceTime to call each other and communicate over the phone. For those of you that are not familiar with FaceTime, it's a video chat or a video call between iPhones or iPads or Mac computers and iPads or even the iPod Touch will work with the FaceTime call. And so you need to make sure that you are calling somebody from one of those types of devices to somebody else that has that type of device. Otherwise, you could just use, Skype or some other video chat or call app. And I think that's all that I had. I do want you to know about, if you go to apple.com/accessibility, there's some great resources that Apple has listed at that website. I don't know why I didn't go there. Anyways, so again, it's apple.com/accessibility. Oh, there it goes. It just took a second. So here you can see that it will show you all of these same features that we've talked about and gives you a good explanation of them. And it will also, at the top, you can choose third party. And that will showcase some third party apps that are valuable as well. And if you want, you can select, if it's vision impairment, hearing impairment, and then it will show you great apps. We have a question?
Yeah, Courtney is wondering, is there any way to enlarge the keyboard keys?
To enlarge the keyboard keys, I think you just need to turn the zoom feature on. There is a way you can enlarge text. I'm not sure if that applies to the keyboard. But again, under general and accessibility, you can see that you can make text larger. So I'll go back to the keyboard and see if it affects the keyboard, but I don't think it will. So I can't tell if it did or not. Let's switch it back and see if it does. So it did not change the keyboard text size. Again, if you wanted to see the keyboard zoomed in, I would just turn on the zoom, and then you can, zoom into the keyboard and look at it that way. If there aren't any other questions, that's all the info I had prepared for today. I hope it was informative and that you did learn something. I appreciate for all those that have tuned in, and have a great day. Thanks.
Okay, we'd like to thank Andrew for sharing that with us today. And just a reminder that if you would fill out the evaluation, the link is on the bottom of the AggieCast page, UATP survey. Please give us that feedback. We appreciate it. Also, you can leave ideas for future trainings here if you have things that would be of interest to you. And also, this training will be archived after it's closed captioned. DVDs and an online format will be available. I will send a link out when that is available in a few weeks. You can also view our previous archive trainings on our blog, which is utahatprogram.blogspot.com. And just a reminder, we'll have another upcoming online training on October 30th. That will be with our occupational therapist, Amy Henningsen, and she'll be covering assistive technology devices for activities of daily living. And we appreciate you attending. And again, if you requested a certificate of attendance through the chat function, please email me your mailing address. Thank you.